"You're just not exciting anymore," my wife said, after asking for a 3-week break for self-discovery trip to Portugal with her ex. So I took my revenge and now she is begging. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Sup Reddit. So my wife left to find herself. I found out she was full of shit, so I packed up all her stuff and had it delivered to her parents while she was gone. My 35 male wife, Jenna, 34 female, and I have been together for 4 years, married for 2. Things weren't perfect, but they weren't terrible either, you know? Just normal relationship stuff. I thought we were doing all right. Then everything changed when my wife decided to blow up our marriage. One night I made us dinner. She seemed kind of quiet during dinner, but Jenna gets moody sometimes, so I didn't think much of it. After we finished eating, I was loading the dishwasher when she tells me she wants to talk. She sits me down on the couch and gets this really serious look on her face. Like the kind of face you make when you're about to tell someone their dog died or something. I'm thinking maybe she wants to talk about money or the fact that our lease is up in a few months, but no. Elijah, I need a break from us. Just like that. No warning, no previous conversation about problems we were having, nothing. She keeps going with this whole speech that honestly sounded like she practiced it in the mirror. It's just not exciting anymore between us. I feel stuck. I need to figure things out about myself and what I really want. Give me 3 weeks, and I'll have an answer for you. I'm sitting there with my mouth probably hanging open, trying to process what she just said. 3 weeks? Like this is some kind of business negotiation or something. She's looking at me with this expectant face, like she's waiting for me to react in some specific way. Here's the thing, though. I could tell this whole thing was rehearsed. The way she was sitting, the words she was using, even her tone of voice. It all felt fake as hell. Like she had run through this conversation in her head a bunch of times and was just reciting her lines. She's still talking about how this doesn't mean she doesn't love me, how she just needs space to find herself and all this other stuff that sounds like it came straight out of a self-help book. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about how we just renewed our car insurance together last week and she was talking about where we wanted to go for vacation this summer. The whole time she's giving me this speech, I can see she's watching my face, waiting for me to break down or start begging or something. Like she wanted me to get dramatic about it. Maybe cry a little, tell her I can't live without her, promise to change, all that desperate boyfriend stuff. Instead, I just said, okay, that's it. One word. Her whole expression changed. She went from confident and in control to confused real quick. Like she had this whole script in her head about how this conversation was supposed to go, and I just threw her off completely. Okay? She repeats back to me. That's all you're going to say? What do you want me to say? You've clearly made up your mind about this. If you need space, take it. I could see her getting frustrated that I wasn't giving her the reaction she wanted. She starts talking about how this is hard for her too and how she hoped I would understand. But honestly, I was already mentally checking out of the conversation. When someone tells you they need a break from your relationship, they're not really asking for your opinion. They're telling you what's going to happen. So why waste time arguing about it? She tells me she's going to stay at her friend Sarah's place while she figures things out. Sarah's this single friend of hers who's always posting quotes on Instagram about being independent and not needing a man. Real supportive friend to have when you're in a relationship, you know? How long have you been thinking about this? I asked her. A few weeks, she says, which was probably bullshit because she's a terrible liar. When Jenna lies, she gets this little twitch in her left eye and touches her hair a lot. She was doing both. The rest of the conversation was just awkward small talk. She's trying to make it seem like this is some mutual decision we came to together, like we both agreed our relationship needed a break. Meanwhile, I'm wondering if she's already got her bags packed. After we went to bed that night, she was laying there scrolling through her phone for like 2 hours. Usually she falls asleep right away, but she was texting someone. Every few minutes I'd hear that little notification sound. She had the brightness turned way down, but I could still see the light. I didn't say anything about it. What's the point? She already told me she needed space, so obviously she's got something or someone else going on. I'm not stupid. The next morning she was acting all weird and guilty, making small talk about the weather, and asking if I wanted her to make breakfast. Like she was trying to be extra nice to make up for dropping that bomb on me the night before. I told her I was good, and that she should probably start packing if she was serious about staying at Sarah's place. That seemed to surprise her too. Like she expected me to try to talk her out of leaving, or ask her to stay and work things out. But if someone wants to leave, I'm not going to beg them to stay. That's not who I am. I went to the kitchen to make some coffee and give her space to do whatever she needed to do. While I'm waiting for it to brew, I can hear her moving around in the bedroom, opening and closing drawers, zipping up bags. She brought out 2 suitcases and that big duffel bag she uses for the gym. For someone who's supposedly just staying at a friend's place for 3 weeks, she was packing a lot of stuff. She comes into the kitchen around 8:30, already dressed and ready to go. Hair done, makeup on, wearing that blue dress she usually saves for important occasions. Which seemed like a weird choice for moving into Sarah's spare bedroom, but whatever. She was fidgeting with her car keys and checking her phone every few seconds. Real nervous energy, you know? Like she had somewhere important to be. You sure you got everything you need? I asked. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just temporary anyway. That's when her phone buzzed with a text. She looked at it and got this little smile on her face. Not a happy smile exactly, more like excited? Hard to explain, but it was definitely not the face of someone who's stressed about taking a break from their relationship. She gives me this awkward hug goodbye, telling me she'll call me in a few days to check in. The whole thing felt forced as hell, like she was going through the motions because she thought that's what she was supposed to do. After she loaded her stuff in the car, she came back inside saying she forgot her phone charger. I was back in the kitchen, washing out my coffee mug and trying to process the fact that my wife just moved out of our apartment. That's when I heard it. She was in the bedroom, talking on the phone. Her voice was different, softer, kind of flirty. Not the voice she uses with her girlfriends or her family. This was her talking to a guy voice. I know, I can't wait either, she was saying. It took forever to get him to agree to this, but I think he bought the whole I need space thing. I froze. Just stood there holding my coffee mug like an idiot. Yeah, I'll see you soon. Don't worry, he's not suspicious at all. Then she laughed. This quiet, sneaky little laugh that made my stomach drop. I have to go, he's right in the next room. But I'll text you when I get there. She hung up and came back to the kitchen like nothing happened. Found it, she says, waving her charger around. Giving her? I swear I lose this thing every other day. I just nodded and said something about being careful driving. My brain was going a million miles an hour, but I kept my mouth shut. She hugged me again, told me she loved me, and left. I watched from the window as she drove away. The whole I need space speech, the 3 weeks timeline, staying at Sarah's place, it was all bullshit. The guy she was talking to, whoever he is, they had this whole thing set up. She wasn't going to Sarah's house to figure herself out. She was going off with some dude. I kept replaying the conversation in my head. It took forever to get him to agree to this. Like I was some obstacle she had to get around instead of her husband. He bought it completely. Like I'm some kind of idiot who can't see what's right in front of me. The worst part? She's probably been planning this for weeks, maybe months. All those late-night texts, the secretive phone calls, the way she'd been acting distant lately. It all makes sense now. While I'm thinking we're just going through a rough patch, she's setting up her exit strategy. And that 3-week timeline? That's not for her to figure things out. That's how long she needs to do whatever she's planning to do with this other guy before she comes back and pretends like she had some kind of revelation about our relationship. Now, I had a choice to make. I could sit around feeling sorry for myself, or I could get to work. Guess which one I picked. First thing I did was call my buddy Mason, who went through a nasty divorce 2 years ago. Dude got absolutely screwed by his ex-wife because he didn't know what he was doing legally. She took half his shit, got alimony, and he's still paying for it. I wasn't about to make the same mistakes. You need to call Rick Henderson, Marcus tells me. He's the lawyer who helped me clean up my mess. Expensive as hell, but worth every penny. This guy doesn't mess around. So I looked up Rick's office and called them around 10 a.m. Rick sounded like he'd heard my story 1,000 times before. Didn't seem shocked or surprised about anything I told him. Just took notes and asked practical questions. How long we'd been married, what assets we had together, whether we had kids, thank God we don't. That kind of stuff. Here's what you need to understand, he tells me. If she's planning what you think she's planning, she's probably been setting this up for a while. People don't just wake up one day and decide to cheat. They usually have an exit strategy. That hit me like a truck. An exit strategy. Like our marriage was some kind of business deal she was trying to get out of. Rick walked me through everything I needed to do to protect myself. Document everything. Make copies of all our financial records. Change passwords on important accounts. That kind of stuff. He also told me something that really stuck with me. The biggest mistake guys make in this situation is trying to be nice and fair. They think if they play by the rules, their wife will too. But if she's already decided to screw you over, being nice just makes it easier for her. After I got off the phone with Rick, I felt like I had a plan for the first time since this whole thing started. No more sitting around wondering what was happening. Time to take control. I started with the easy stuff. Changed the password on our Netflix account, our Amazon Prime, Hulu, all that. If she wanted to watch TV at her new place, she could pay for her own subscriptions. Small thing, but it felt good to do something. Then I went through our apartment and started packing up the rest of her stuff into boxes. Not out of anger or spite, just being practical. I found a shoebox full of old photos, including some from before we met. There were pictures of her with different guys, including one who looked familiar. There were like 10 photos of them together, looking pretty cozy. I flipped one of the photos over and someone had written Portugal 2019 on the back. Portugal. That seemed random. Jenna had never mentioned going to Portugal, and definitely not with some other guy. By the time I finished packing her stuff, I called a delivery service and arranged to have all the boxes sent to her parents' house. Cost me $80, but it seemed like the right thing to do. If she was staying at Sarah's place, she could figure out how to get her stuff from her mom and dad. I walked back into our apartment, and it felt completely different. Like half the personality had been sucked out of the place. But not in a bad way exactly. More like I could finally see what was mine and what was ours. And there wasn't as much ours as I thought. Around 4 p.m., her mom called. She has always been pretty cool to me, so I figured I owed her some kind of explanation. Elijah, honey, we just got a delivery of boxes with Jenna's name on them. Is everything all right? You'd have to ask Jenna about that. She decided she needed some space from our relationship. There was a long pause. Space? What does that mean? She said she needed 3 weeks to figure things out. I'm just making sure she has everything she needs while she does that. Another pause. Elijah, where is Jenna staying? She told me she was staying with Sarah. Sarah? Sarah who? That was interesting. Her mom knows all of Jenna's friends. If she didn't know which Sarah, that was probably because there was no Sarah. Honey, I'm confused. Jenna called us yesterday and said she was going on a work trip for a few weeks. She didn't say anything about problems between you two. Work trip. That was a new one. We said goodbye and I hung up feeling even more sure that I was doing the right thing. The last thing I did that day was take her wedding ring from the bathroom counter where she'd left it. She'd taken it off before she left, probably so she could pretend to be single wherever she was going. I drove to this pawn shop on the other side of town that Mason had recommended. The guy behind the counter looked like he'd seen everything twice and didn't care about anyone's sob story. How much for these? I asked, putting both rings on the counter. I can give you $800 for the set. It wasn't about the money. It was about getting rid of the last physical reminder of promises that apparently didn't mean anything to her. Walking out of that pawn shop with $800 cash in my pocket, I felt lighter than I had in months. Like I'd finally stopped carrying around dead weight I didn't even know I was holding. Then this happened a week after she left. I'm sitting on my couch Tuesday night, watching the game and eating leftover Chinese food, when I get a text from Taylor. Taylor's one of Jenna's friends from college. Hey Elijah, can we talk? It's important. That got my attention real quick. Taylor's not the type to text me directly unless something's up. Usually if she needs to tell me something, she goes through Jenna. Sure, what's going on? Not over text. Can you meet me tomorrow? Now I'm really curious. Taylor sounded serious, and she's usually pretty laid back about everything. Whatever she wanted to talk about, it wasn't good news. Next day I show up at the coffee shop around 2 p.m. Taylor's already there, sitting in the back corner with a large coffee and looking like she hasn't slept much. She waves me over but doesn't smile, which is weird because Taylor's always smiling. Thanks for meeting me, she says as I sit down. I wasn't sure if I should tell you this, but I can't keep it to myself anymore. She pulls out her phone and starts scrolling through something. Jenna made me promise not to say anything, but this is messed up even for her. Taylor turns her phone toward me and shows me Instagram. It's Jenna's account, but not the main one I follow. This is some private account I'd never seen before. She has 2 Instagram accounts, Taylor explains. This one's private, only like 15 people follow it. She posts different stuff here. The first photo makes my stomach drop. It's Jenna and some guy sitting at a restaurant. Nice place, looks expensive, right by the ocean somewhere. She's wearing that red dress I found in her closet with the tag still on it. Who's that? I ask, even though I'm pretty sure I already know. Oliver, her ex from college. There are more photos. Jenna and Oliver walking on a beach, holding hands. Another one of them on some kind of boat, her head on his shoulder. But the worst one is the last one. Jenna's laying on Oliver's chest on a beach chair, both of them grinning like idiots. The caption says, "Finally free, living her truth." Jesus Christ. Where is this? I asked Taylor. Portugal. She's been posting these all week. Portugal. Just like it said on the back of that old photo I found. There's something else, Taylor says. She told her job she was taking medical leave. Said she was too stressed to work and needed time off for her mental health. Medical leave? Yeah. She's getting paid while she's over there with him. I heard her on the phone with HR, crying about how overwhelmed she was and how she needed professional help. So let me get this straight. My wife told me she needed space to figure herself out. She told her parents she was going on a work trip. She told her job she was too sick to work. And the whole time, she's in Portugal living it up with her ex-boyfriend. The level of planning that went into this is insane. She didn't just wake up one day and decide to cheat. She coordinated time off work, lied to multiple people, planned this whole elaborate vacation, and probably spent months setting it up. Can you send me these photos? I asked. Taylor hesitated. What are you going to do with them? I don't know yet, but I should probably have proof of what's actually happening. She forwarded me the photos. About 15 of them total, all posted over the past week. Each one more obvious than the last. There was no way to pretend this was just innocent catching up with an old friend. When I got home, I did some research on Oliver. Wasn't hard to find him on social media once I knew his name. Turns out he's married, has been for 3 years. His wife's name is Amanda, and she seems like a nice person. Lots of photos of them together, including some recent ones from what looks like their anniversary dinner. So Oliver's married, Jenna's married, and they're both in Portugal pretending to be single. His wife probably thinks he's on a business trip or something, just like how Jenna told her parents she was traveling for work. I screenshot everything. If I was going to expose this whole thing, I wanted to make sure I had all the facts straight. That night, I called my lawyer Rick and told him what I'd found out. This is actually good news for you, he said. Adultery still matters in divorce proceedings, especially when there's this much evidence. And the fact that she lied to her employer about medical leave could be considered fraud. What do you mean fraud? She's collecting sick pay under false pretenses. That's a fireable offense at most companies, possibly illegal depending on how their policy is written. Rick told me to document everything and not to contact Jenna directly. Let her keep digging her own grave while we built our case. That night, I printed out all the photos and put them in a folder with Oliver's information and screenshots of Jenna's fake medical leave emails that Taylor had sent me. Evidence. Real, undeniable proof of what my wife was really doing while she was supposed to be finding herself. I felt like I had a loaded gun, and I was just waiting for the right time to use it. I woke up Thursday morning, and the first thing I did was draft an email to Jenna's HR department. I kept it simple and professional, no emotion, just facts. To whom it may concern, I believe you should be aware that one of your employees, Jenna Patterson, is currently collecting medical leave benefits while vacationing in Portugal. Please see attached photographic evidence. I trust you will handle this matter appropriately. That was it. Short, sweet, and to the point. I sent it at 8:47 a.m. on Thursday morning. But I wasn't done. I also sent a copy to Oliver's wife, Amanda. Found her email address through her real estate business website. She had a right to know what her husband was up to. The email to Amanda was a little different, more personal. Hi, Amanda. I don't know you personally, but I think you should see these photos of your husband Oliver with my wife Jenna in Portugal. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but I thought you deserved to know. Elijah. Attached the same photos, hit send, and then went to make myself some breakfast. If I was going nuclear, might as well do it right. Around 11 a.m., my phone starts buzzing with calls from numbers I don't recognize. I let them all go to voicemail. Figured if it was important, they'd leave a message. First voicemail was from some woman at Jenna's company, asking me to call them back regarding an urgent matter concerning Mrs. Patterson. The second was from Amanda, Oliver's wife, asking if we could talk. I called Amanda back first. She sounded like she'd been crying. Is this really happening? She asked me. Are they really together right now? Yeah, they are. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. How long has this been going on? I don't know exactly, but probably months, maybe longer. Amanda told me Oliver had said he was going to Portugal for some business conference. Said his company was paying for everything and he'd be back in 2 weeks. She even helped him pack. I feel so stupid, she said. You're not stupid. They're just really good liars. We talked for about 20 minutes. She thanked me for telling her and said she was going to talk to a lawyer. After I hung up with Amanda, I called Jenna's HR department back, got transferred to some director who sounded like she was not having a good day. Mr. Patterson, thank you for calling us back. We need to verify some information about the photos you sent. Are you certain these photos were taken recently and that Mrs. Patterson is currently on approved medical leave? Yes to both. The photos were posted this week, and she started her medical leave on Monday. She asked me a bunch of questions about Jenna's condition when she left, whether I thought she was actually sick, what kind of symptoms she was having. I told her the truth, that Jenna seemed fine physically, just said she was stressed about our relationship. Mr. Patterson, I have to ask, are you and Mrs. Patterson having marital problems? We are now. She said they'd be conducting an investigation and thanked me for bringing this to their attention. About 2 hours later, Taylor texts me, "Dude, did you get Jenna fired?" She just called me crying saying HR contacted her in Portugal. I didn't respond to Taylor right away. Let Jenna sweat it out for a while. That afternoon, I got a call from my lawyer, Rick. I just got off the phone with Jenna's attorney, he said. Apparently, she's trying to fly back early because of some work emergency. Her lawyer wanted to know if you'd be willing to hold off on filing divorce papers until she gets back. What did you tell him? I told him we'd consider it if she wants to make this easy on everyone. But between you and me, she's in full panic mode right now. Rick explained that getting fired for lying about medical leave was going to make the divorce a lot easier. It proved she was being deceptive and manipulative, which courts don't like. Plus, if she's unemployed, she can't really ask for alimony, Rick said. Hard to argue you need financial support when you got yourself fired for fraud. That evening, Jenna's mom called again. She sounded confused and upset. Elijah, honey, what's going on? Jenna called us crying about her job and saying you sent photos to her boss? She's in Portugal with another man. Has been all week. She lied to you, she lied to her job, and she lied to me. Long silence. Then, another man? Her ex-boyfriend from college. They've been planning this for months. She started crying. I don't understand. She said you two were having problems, but she never said anything about another man. Then 30 minutes later, dad texted me. Tell me this isn't true. Portugal? With her ex? After everything you did for her? Another one came right after. You didn't deserve this, Elijah. None of us did. I felt bad for her parents. They're good people who raised what they thought was a decent daughter. Finding out your kid is a lying cheater has got to be rough. Friday morning, Taylor called me instead of texting. She told me that Oliver bailed on Jenna as soon as his wife confronted him. Amanda had called him screaming about the photos, and he immediately threw Jenna under the bus. Told Amanda that Jenna had seduced him and that he made a terrible mistake. So now Jenna's stuck in Portugal by herself, fired from her job, and the guy she destroyed her marriage for won't even take her calls, Taylor said. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. The best part, though? Oliver's wife Amanda posted a bunch of those photos on Facebook, tagging both Oliver and Jenna. Added a caption about cheating husbands and home-wrecking desperates. Amanda doesn't mess around, apparently. So now everyone in Jenna's professional and social circles knows exactly what she did. Her college friends, her co-workers, her family. They've all seen the photos. There's no spinning this or making herself look like the victim. By Sunday, 3 of Jenna's friends had reached out to me apologizing for what she did. Even her cousin Jessica, who usually thinks Jenna can do no wrong, sent me a message saying she was sorry and that I deserved better. The whole thing went from a private family matter to public humiliation in less than 48 hours. And the beautiful part? I didn't have to say a word against her. I just showed people what she was actually doing and let them draw their own conclusions. Play with fire, get burned. Jenna thought she was so clever with her little secret vacation, but she forgot that the internet is forever, and lies have a way of catching up with you. Well, Jenna's 3 weeks were up, and let me tell you guys, her homecoming was nothing like she expected. I knew she was flying back that day because her mom had called, asking if I could pick Jenna up from the airport. Apparently, Oliver had left her stranded in Portugal after his wife found out, and Jenna had to change her flight to come back early. I told her mom that Jenna was a grown woman who could figure out her own transportation. The whole week leading up to her return, I'd been getting ready. Not emotionally, I was already past that. I mean literally getting ready. Making sure everything was exactly how I wanted it when she walked through that door. First thing I did was change the locks. Cost me $200, but it was worth it just for the peace of mind. The old keys she had were now useless pieces of metal. I also did something that probably sounds petty, but felt amazing. Remember that car she was driving? The lease was in my name because her credit wasn't great when we got it. I called the dealership Tuesday and told them to come pick it up. The repo guy was scheduled to grab it Thursday afternoon, right around the time she'd be getting back. Wednesday night, I'm sitting on the couch, watching the basketball game and eating pizza, When my phone starts blowing up with calls from Jenna, I'd unblocked her number temporarily just to see what kind of panic mode she was in. First call goes to voicemail. Elijah, please call me back. Something's wrong with my key and I can't get into the apartment. I don't know what's happening. Second call, 5 minutes later. Elijah, this isn't funny. I'm standing outside our apartment and none of my keys work. Did you change the locks? Third call. I can see through the window and all my stuff is gone. Call me back right now. I let them all go to voicemail. She called probably 15 times over the next 2 hours, each message getting more frantic and angry. The last one was her crying, asking why I was doing this to her, and begging me to let her in so we could talk. Thursday afternoon, right on schedule, I watch from my window as the repo guy shows up with a tow truck. Jenna's car was parked right out front where she'd left it. The guy hooked it up and drove off in about 10 minutes. Simple as that. About an hour later, Jenna shows up with her suitcases, looking like she'd been crying for days. She was wearing the same clothes from those Portugal photos, except now they looked wrinkled and dirty. Her hair was a mess, and she had that hollow look people get when their whole world falls apart. She tried her key again, even though she obviously knew it wouldn't work. Then she pressed her face against the front window, trying to see inside. I was sitting at the kitchen table, perfectly visible, reading a book and drinking coffee. She started banging on the window. Elijah, I can see you in there. Open the door. We need to talk. I looked up at her, made eye contact, and went back to reading my book. She banged harder. This is my apartment too. You can't just lock me out. That's when I got up, walked over to the window, and held up the divorce papers Rick had prepared. Made sure she could see them clearly through the glass. Her face went white, like all the blood just drained out of it. I opened the window just enough to slide a manila envelope through the gap. Inside were the divorce papers and a note I'd written. You said you needed 3 weeks to figure things out. I figured it out in 3 hours. All communication goes through the lawyers now. She grabbed the envelope with shaking hands and ripped it open right there on the front steps. As she read through the papers, I could see her getting more and more panicked. Elijah, please let me explain. It's not what you think. You're being dramatic. I just said, you're free now, Jenna. Go chase your fantasy. Then I closed the window and went back to my book. She stood out there for probably another hour, alternating between crying and yelling. Eventually, Jenna called someone to pick her up. Turned out to be her dad, who showed up looking embarrassed and angry. Before they drove off, he looked up at my window and shook his head like he was disappointed in both of us. That evening, my phone started ringing again. This time, it was Jenna's lawyer. He wanted to schedule a meeting to discuss the situation like adults. I gave him Rick's number and told him all communication needed to go through our attorneys. No more direct contact, no more playing games. Last thing I heard, Jenna was back at her parents' house, sleeping in her old childhood bedroom. Her mom wasn't saying much to her, just moving around the house in silence. Her dad? He was making her pay rent. Cold, monthly rent. No free rides at 34. Word got around that she was telling people it was all a mistake, but no one was buying it. Not after the lies she stacked up like Jenga blocks. She didn't just betray me. She played her job, her friends, even her own family. Now no one wanted to hear the redemption speech. She was also in full panic mode over money. Human Resources made her pay back the medical leave she fraudulently claimed. She had no job, no savings, and no place to land. The car she used to drive was already gone. She tried applying for unemployment, but rumor has it they're going to deny it. Termination for fraud isn't exactly a winning argument. Meanwhile, I'm living my best life. The divorce should be finalized in a few months. Rick says it's going to be pretty straightforward since we don't have kids, and she basically has no grounds to ask for anything. Hard to claim you deserve half of someone's stuff when you got yourself fired for lying so you could cheat on them. Last week I ran into Jenna at the grocery store. She looked terrible, like she'd aged 5 years and 2 months. She saw me before I saw her. I caught it out of the corner of my eye. That little hesitation, like she was weighing whether to play it cool or come running with some recycled apology. She took a few steps in my direction, opened her mouth like she had something to say, but I didn't stop, didn't slow down, didn't even blink. I just kept walking. We've got nothing to say to each other. And that was the last time I ever saw her. She wanted to be free to live her truth or whatever. Well, now she's free.